All right, so let's look at temptation number 3. Number 3. Okay. Again, the devil took Jesus along to a very high mountain and showed Jesus all the kingdoms of the world and their glory. And the devil said to Jesus, "All these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me." Then Jesus said to the devil, "Go away, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only." And then the devil left him, and behold, the angels came and began to serve him. Wow. Okay, so this is the last temptation. So notice the progression of what is happening here. Okay. Oh, I forgot to say it. Look what Jesus said. "Go away, Satan, for it is written." Okay. We'll come back to that. All right. So notice the progression here. Okay. So little quick recap. We started with temptation 1, took us all the way back to Adam and Eve. Okay. Jesus' response took us to Moses. Temptation number 2 took us to the temple, the city of David, Jerusalem. Okay. And now we are in temptation number 3. And what do we see here in temptation number 3? Okay, it took Jesus to a very high mountain, showed him all the kingdoms of the world. Okay, so now with temptation number 3, this opens it up to the entire world. So this takes us forward to now. It takes us to this covenant of grace that we are under now. Now that God has opened up salvation to the entire world, he offers it to everyone. Okay, do you see how that works? How these temptations are taking us through the beginning of history, of human history, and taking us all the way to now and all the way to when Jesus comes back. Okay, wow, there's just so much going on here that create this deeper level of meaning underneath this story, deeper than what you see when you first read through it. Because through these temptations, we've covered the whole history of humanity. Okay. Now, of course, at this time, when Jesus is being tempted in the wilderness, we're not yet under the new covenant because Jesus has not yet died on the cross and resurrected. Okay. But it is a foreshadowing of what is going to happen very, very soon when Jesus is having this exchange with the devil. Okay. So what exactly is Satan tempting Jesus with here? Okay, I think it's really clear on the surface that he's offering Jesus the entire world if Jesus will worship the devil. Can you? I don't even like to read that. Right? Doesn't just make your skin crawl. That's how it makes me feel. It's like, can you believe the nerve of Satan to even say this? This is crazy. But as usual, there is more going on under the surface than what we are seeing here when we read it the first time. Notice here. Okay, let's look at the things that Satan says. Okay, a couple of things I want to point out. So Satan, all these things I will give you if you fall down and worship me. He drops that, the first 2 temptations, he started off by saying, if you are the Son of God, right? So he drops that. He didn't try to say that. He didn't try to quote any scripture here. All right. So I think what's happening here is Satan probably is realizing at this point that he's on limited time, okay, in this exchange with Jesus. He might even be surprised he's been able to get away with as much as he has. Of course, it was all up to God how much temptation God was going to allow Jesus to endure during this exchange, right? And but Satan had no idea what that was. So he probably is thinking, okay, I'm probably nearing the edge of Jesus's patience, because at any point Jesus could say, "Get out of here, Satan," and Satan would have to go. Right? He's got to obey Jesus. And Satan knows that Jesus has just tolerated him so far. Okay, so I think that at this point he's just dropping everything and just going for broke. This was Satan's plan all along. Okay. This is where Satan wanted to get to. Remember how he did it with Eve? He engaged Eve in a conversation and she talked back. So he's able to just kind of manipulate and get her to where he wanted. Jesus did not play along. Jesus did not engage. Okay, so all of his plans just kind of went out the window, right? And so he's just kind of flailing around. Okay, what am I going to do? This was where he always was hoping to get. Okay, to this point, to offer Jesus the world in order to, as if he would worship him. He was going to give him the whole world. Okay, that's what he really wants. Okay, now for most of us would think, okay, there's no way that's going to happen. Jesus is never going to fall for that. There's no way. Of course, that was never going to work. Okay, but this strategy is way, way trickier than it looks. Okay, think about it. Satan knows Scripture, right? Satan knows Scripture much better than any human being. Okay, he's been around since the very beginning. He has memorized every word in our Bible, every word. He knows it. He knows all the prophecies of the Messiah. He knew exactly who Jesus was when he showed up. Okay, Satan knew. The demons knew. So you better believe Satan knew too. And I don't think that Satan could have predicted all the little details, the cross and everything, but Satan knew why Jesus was there. Okay, Satan knew that Jesus had come to win back the world, to win back humanity. Okay, and so before I explain more what I mean, I want to look at the Luke version of this. Okay, so the only difference between the Matthew version and the Luke version of this story is that Luke changes the order of the temptations, and I believe, based on the context, that this is the actual order that it happened. But the other difference is this third temptation. It is he adds a little bit, and Luke does, that is not in Matthew, and I think it is enlightening. Okay, so here's the story in Luke, this third temptation. And the devil led Jesus up and showed him all the kingdoms of the world in a moment of time. And the devil said to Jesus, I will give you all this domain and its glory, for it has been handed over to me, and I give it to whomever I want. Therefore, if you worship before me, it shall all be yours, Jesus. Wow. Okay, see, at this point, Satan really is in charge of the earth at this point, right? So it really had been handed over to him when Adam and Eve chose to sin, when they made the deal. Because remember, God, there were two parts of God's covenant with Adam and Eve: to have free will, okay, that's still in effect, and then he also gave the earth to Adam and Eve, to all of humanity, to exercise dominion over it. But when Adam and Eve chose to sin and to obey Satan instead of God, then they gave that up. They gave Satan the earth. Okay, so Satan really had been in charge of the earth from the fall of man, from Garden of Eden until now, until Jesus came. Okay, so Satan knew that Jesus is coming back to win back the world. Okay, he knew that. So he's not lying about that part. Right there, he's not lying. Okay, he lies about most things. Every once in a while, he tells the truth, only when he has a very specific plan. So, and I believe that Satan understood at this point that it's not going to be easy for Jesus to win back the world. Okay, it's probably going to be very costly. And how does Satan know this? He knows it because he knows that God plays by the rules. He knows that God is a covenant God who always tells the truth, always keeps his promises. Okay, and Satan uses that against God and against us all the time. And God chooses to let Satan do this for now, not forever, because God is a covenant God. And he gave us free will, which means that we will often choose the wrong thing. That's why we have evil in this world, because God is a covenant God. That's the answer to that question. And he won't break his promises to us. But God is also, as crazy as it sounds, kind of made a covenant with Satan as well, because God gave Satan a certain amount of time. Okay? And Satan knows this, right? It's in the Bible. He knows everything that's in the Bible. And so God's not going to break that covenant either. That's how truthful our God is. That's how honest our God is. He won't even break covenant with the enemy. Okay, so Satan uses that against us and against God. And so what is Satan really offering Jesus here? What's he doing? He's saying, Jesus, I know why you're here. And I know this is going to be difficult and painful. It's going to cost you a lot. So I've got a shortcut, Jesus. I got a shortcut. I'm willing to give you all of this back. I'm going to give you the world back. It's not going to be painful at all. It's so easy. All you have to do is just a little thing. This is a little thing. Just worship me. Just worship. Yeah. That's what the enemy is saying. That's what he's saying. And now remember, this is a time when Jesus is weakened from fasting. He is alone. He is perhaps feeling overwhelmed in a non-sinful way, okay, by this huge task ahead of him. And Satan is targeting these potential weaknesses. Okay, and he does the same thing with us all the time. Don't think for 1 second that Satan does not do this exact same thing with us all the time. Okay, now we've all heard about these famous actors and movie stars and musicians, who make deals with the devil. They sell their soul to the devil to get famous. Now, I think that really does happen sometimes, but Satan gives the same deal to every single one of us, It's just a lot of us don't recognize that's what's happening. Okay. All the lies of the world that the world tries to sell to us, live for yourself. Do what makes you happy. You're number one. Do what's best for you. You deserve it. All of these lies. Make yourself your own God. This has been the lie of the world since the very beginning of time. So it's all the same deal that Satan is trying to make with Jesus right now. Worship yourself. Make yourself your own God. Because you know what? When you worship yourself, you're actually worshiping Satan. Because he's the father of lies. He's the father of pride. So when we worship ourselves, we are falling for this lie from the enemy. The third temptation. All right, so how does Jesus respond? Okay, again, go away, Satan, for it is written, you shall worship the Lord your God and serve him only. He responds exactly the same way we should respond when we encounter the same lie, the same deal from the devil. He responds with indignation, with disgust, with righteous anger. Go away, Satan. Get out of here, you liar. I would never worship you. Get out. Okay, and Satan had to leave. He had to go. And Jesus quotes again. This is from Deuteronomy 6 as well. It's from that same chapter that includes the Shema. Okay. It's verse 13, 3 verses before the verse he quoted from the second temptation. So let me just say, Jesus is the absolute master here. I get so excited reading about this. I'm an English geek, an English nerd. And so I just love this stuff. I love to watch Jesus debating skills because he's just masterful. Okay, because Satan was, he's throwing everything at Jesus that he can think of, He's trying, I'm going to quote scripture. I'm going to do this here and then try this and nothing works, right? So he's just, knocking himself out, trying to do everything he can think of against Jesus. Jesus, cool, calm, collected Jesus, all he has to do is quote 3 scriptures from 2 chapters of Deuteronomy. That's all he had to do. Masterful. It's just amazing. I love it. So I want to read. We're getting close to the end here. I want to read the full paragraph from Deuteronomy 6 that Jesus quotes here, okay? Because it is just the perfect finale to all of this. And then we'll talk for a few minutes about application. All right. So this is from Deuteronomy 6, 13 through 15. You shall fear only the Lord your God. You shall worship him and swear by his name. You shall not follow other gods, any of the gods of the peoples who surround you. For the Lord your God who is in the midst of you is a jealous God. So follow him, or else the anger of the Lord your God will be kindled against you, and he will wipe you off the face of the earth. Okay, so when the Jewish people were so familiar with their scriptures, and so when Jesus says this one thing, you shall worship the Lord your God only, they immediately associated it with this whole passage. And so what a wonderful, wonderful way to finish. It's like mic drop. There's nothing more that you can say after. This is just brilliant. I love it.